What's up guys, Matt Day here, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the chemicals that I use for developing film. I've been developing film at home for a long time now, and I'm always getting questions about it from people on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, email. People are always asking questions about this because I know it can be a little intimidating if you're not used to it. I have some videos on this channel that are pretty old now where I'm walking through, how to develop film and what developer I use and what film I like to shoot, that kind of stuff. And I figured today I would just kind of go ahead and update this for you guys because some things have changed since then, and I want to make this the most up-to-date information as far as what I recommend, what I use, and hopefully it can help some of you guys. Now first, we're going to talk about the film, and that's Ilford HP5. I made a video several years back about switching to this film after using Tri-X for years, and I absolutely love Ilford HP5. It's been my go-to ever since, and 99.9% of the time, that's what I'm shooting. Occasionally, for a certain project, I might shoot some color film, or occasionally people will send in a roll of film that they want me to try out just to see how I like it, and I'll shoot that for fun. But Ilford HP5, it gives me a look that is consistent. It's really, really flexible. I'm always pushing that film to 1600, pushing it to 6400 when I'm shooting medium format, and it's still insanely clean. And also, if you're bulk loading the film, it can cut the cost of buying the film in half. So Ilford HP5 is great. I love everything about that film, and if you've ever seen any black and white film from me in the last few years, it's pretty certain that it's Ilford HP5. Now, because I'm using that film, the developer I decided to go with is Ilfotec HC. This is very, very similar to Kodak HC110, which is the developer I used with Tri-X, so that's probably why I like this so much, because it's what I'm used to. But I've been using this for years as well, and it's great, especially for pushing film. It gives me a great look. The grain isn't over the top, but at the same time, it's not, trying to diminish the grain or anything like that. It's really, really good. I've tried Ilfosol 3, I've tried Ilfotec DDX, I've tried a few different Ilford developers, but Ilfotec HC just works for me. Price-wise, it's nice that you buy a bottle of it, and it's, I think around $35, so it seems kind of pricey, but it lasts forever because this is really heavily diluted. So you're working with like a 1:31 dilution for this. So one big bottle of this is a liter, but it lasts a long, long time. So really great look, really easy to mix up, and it gives me a consistent look, and I'm all for that. Now, one of the stop bath, I don't use any chemical stop bath, I just use water as my stop bath itself. That's because I'm using Photographer's Formulary TF4, which is my fixer. Using this fixer allows you to just use water for your stop bath. I have no idea why or how that works. I just know that Photographer's Formulary states that with this fixer, so that's one big reason why I use this fixer. It just makes things really convenient that I don't have another chemical I need to mix up, but it works great. And I always have jugs of distilled water around because I'm always using it when I'm developing film, both for mixing up my developer, for my stop bath, whenever I mix up my fixer, in the final rinse of the film, I go through distilled water. It just makes sure you have really good, clean results. You don't have any kind of like spots on your negatives from, dirty tap water, that kind of stuff. So distilled water, it's cheap. You can buy it in gallon jugs. Every time we're at the grocery, I always stock up on a few jugs at a time because this stuff, I go through it. And like I mentioned, Photographer's Formulary TF4, this is the fixer I use. I've used this for years and I absolutely love it. This isn't what it comes in. I don't have any of the 1 liter jugs that it comes in whenever I buy it. This is just already mixed up in one of these gallon jugs for dark rooms. But it's just 3 liters of water, distilled water, and then 1 liter of the Photographer's Formulary mix that you buy, and it's super easy to mix up and lasts a long time. You only have to fix for 4 to 5 minutes depending on how old or how fresh the mix is, but it's great, super easy to use, cost effective, and again it eliminates the need for a stop bath, so that's a big plus for me. And finally, I use Kodak Photo Flow. This is something else that lasts pretty long. I'm getting towards the end of this bottle here, but it does last a long time. Basically, after I fix the film, I let it run under the tap for about 10 minutes just to kind of rinse everything off, and then I do one final rinse with distilled water and a little bit of Photo Flow. Just a few drops, nothing crazy, but throwing some Photo Flow in there, it just kind of gives one final really good clean rinse to the film, And using the photo flow helps you prevent getting any kind of like water spots when your film is drying. So makes it really easy to use that way. You don't have to spend a bunch of time trying to, Photoshop out nasty marks on your negatives or re-rinsing the film. Just use photo flow, it does the trick, and it lasts a long time. So this is the simplified setup that I've been using for years. This is everything I need. Obviously you need the tank and the reels and stuff like that, but chemical wise, this is it. It's super, super simple, and it works great for me. But a lot of people always want to know a little bit more. They ask about, developing times, how do you mix up the developer, what temperature are you developing, does it change when you push the film? There are a lot of different variables here, so I'm going to go ahead and just give you all that information as well if you're going to be using these chemicals here. Now, all of the information I'm about to give will change if you're using a different developer, a different film stock, different temperature. All of these variables matter, so it depends on what you're using, but if you just need a recipe to work with and you don't want to try out different things, if you just want to replicate what I'm doing here, this will give you the information to do that. I'm not doing anything special here. Anybody can do this. There's no secret to it. This is just what works for me. So if you want to replicate this and just take this recipe and go, by all means, it works. So like I said, I use a lot of distilled water whenever I'm mixing up my developer and for everything else, but the nice thing about that is with our house, we keep it anywhere between 68 degrees Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So because of that, 68 degrees is the recommended time or temperature for developing black and white film. So the reason that's convenient is because I don't have to mess with trying to heat it up or cool it down. It's pretty much always ready to go. So at 68 degrees, I'm always pushing my HP5 to 1600. So for that, the developing times are going to be 68 degrees for 14 minutes with Ilfotec HC with a 1:31 dilution. So what that means is I'm mixing this up and I'm diluting it with distilled water. So for me, I use Paterson tanks. I use a 1,000 milliliter tank. That means I need 1,000 milliliters of developer in order to cover all the film in there. It'll cover either 2 rolls of 120 or 3 rolls of 35. That's the most common size tank that I use. So that means I need 968 milliliters of water and then 32 milliliters of Ilfotec HC. That's how little of this stuff I need to use to mix it up to get a working solution. So really, really convenient. That's the math on it. It's just a 1:32 dilution. And again, at 68 degrees, I'm developing for 14 minutes when I'm pushing it to 1600. Now, if it's a little bit warmer, if the house is a little bit warmer and this is say 70 degrees, which does happen pretty often, then I need to shave off a little bit of that developing time because the time actually is dictated by the temperature as well, not just the developer that you're using or the film stock. All of these things matter. So if it's a couple degrees warmer, then I need to shave off some time, and I'm going to shave off about a minute. So at 68 degrees, it's 14 minutes, but if it's 70 degrees, I'm going to develop for about 13 minutes. So just shaving off a little bit of time to compensate. All of these things work out to balance each other, and that's what I'm doing if I'm pushing to 1600. Now, the odd chance that I'm going to be developing at ISO 400 and I'm not pushing my film, then I develop at the normal time, which with Ilfotec HC, a 1:31 dilution, I'm going to be developing for 6.5 minutes with Ilford HP5. Now I know I just threw out a lot of numbers at you, but really this stuff is pretty simple. The information is out there. This is what I've done for years and it's worked for me. Developing times and things like that, people are always asking where they can find it. A lot of times you can find it online. There's a website, I think it's called like Digital Truth, Massive Dev Chart, something like that. I'm going to put a link in the description. I don't have any affiliation with them or anybody I mentioned here, but I wanted to go ahead and share that because that was a great resource for me many years ago, and it's still out there, so you can use that. And they also used to have an app. They might still have one, I'm not sure, but it's basically just a big chart for you that you just punch in what developer you're using and what film stock, and it gives you everything you need to know. So really, really great resource. I'm going to put a link in the description for that. But also, the inside box of Ilford Films, they give you all kinds of times in there to work with as well. But just try it out. Feel free to ask questions. I've always been answering questions like this, and hopefully, me showing it in a video can visually help you understand it a little bit easier. And for people out there that are, in the future looking for this kind of information, hopefully this is helpful. But yeah, I'm an open book. I'm not doing anything, that's like a secret or that's out of the ordinary. This isn't like a secret recipe. It's what works for me. So if you guys have any questions at all, please leave them below in the comments. Feel free to ask me anything. And yeah, hopefully it was helpful. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.